Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Peaceful Challenge. So we started with a time lapse today. We were building up the big machine that covered half of the perimeter with water sources between a bedrock. It was only half of the perimeter because we didn't have enough slime blocks to build a machine that stretches over the whole perimeter area. That's why we decided to do it in two halves. The first machine here was running great, but there was one little flaw we noticed later. Some cases actually failed to create a water source. I think that was actually caused by the shroomlight blocks in the back that were melting the additional frosted ice. And in some rare configuration, it probably happened that some neighboring frosted ice was melting. This caused the frosted ice we were about to punch down to also be melted. So it happened very rarely that we don't have a water source here. I would say maybe 1 in 1,000 chance. So that's why we also didn't bother fixing the machine or anything. You can just place blocks whenever that happens. Alright, so it took us actually quite a long time to build up the machine and remove it again, which kind of makes me want to take a break from this project. But all this work on the water machines also made me remember one of the goals we had for the Peaceful series. If you remember episode 1, I had a little wall of goals for the Peaceful series, and one of those was to beat the void. It wasn't really clear what that is about. It was an old idea that Helvins brought up. It was probably like 5 years ago. So Helvins was one of the original Psycraft members. He's not as active anymore. Sometimes he joins the Discord, but he doesn't really play Minecraft much anymore these days. But he always had the idea to have a layer of ice between the end islands. So the whole 1,000 wide area around the main end island, we got a huge void, and we could actually automatically generate blocks there, so we couldn't fall in the void at all. So what kind of options do we have? We could obviously make some kind of cobble generator in order to do so, but well, we still don't have movable lava sources except if a player places them with a bucket. So water is actually a really good idea. We can automatically generate it and then freeze it, and the frosted ice would remain behind. If you would have done such a huge area 1.12, this would have been really bad because of the chunk loading issues that were caused by the frosted ice. But this was fixed basically in 1.14 when the whole chunk loading was redone, so this would no longer be a problem. So frosted ice itself does create a tiny bit of lag, but it's not too bad. So the idea is we would fill the complete area around the main end island, so about a 2,000 by 2,000 area, with one layer of frosted ice at Y0. So we'll also have a nice side effect that we could use just boats and fast travel on that ice. So in order to work on the flying machines that will make the frosted ice for us, I went to the end dimension in a single player world. And this, by the way, just a side note, is the weirdest main end island generation I've ever seen. So a big valley splits the main end island. So here in the middle, this would be quite tough for a dragonfighter, could imagine. I've never seen anything like that. I've seen definitely plenty of main end islands in my couple of years of playing this game. Never seen anything like that. That's a seed, by the way. It's just a normal flat world that I generated, and this is how the end dimension looks. Alright, just a side note. Also what we probably have to do, just noticed, is that the obsidian pillars reach down very low. You probably have to remove a couple of those layers here at the bottom manually to make space for the flying machine so that they don't get stuck on it. The main end island, in this case, I think goes down to Y11. It's pretty much the same as with the outer end islands, so we can always fly below those. Pretty convenient. Okay, then we can get started. So the first 3-directional machine, we already designed. You might remember this from the early episodes, was I think around episode 10, where we flooded the area around the witch hut to make a perimeter for our cat farm. We used this type of flying machine, so we had a waterlogged stair and block in front, and basically created water sources at this layer. Okay, we can use the same machine again. There's one problem with it we had back then as well. We couldn't really have a bot riding this machine because we couldn't use honey blocks here. The pistons are powered through the slime block, so we couldn't just replace it. And we couldn't add any more blocks to somehow add a minecart or something similar that we could ride. So this was a problem. Back then we solved it by just having a couple of bots that loaded the limited area. I guess in this case, since the area would be a lot larger, so we're talking about probably something like 2400 by 2400, would be nice to have a bot that divides the machine. So since we probably can't rebuild this easily, another idea would be to have a second flying machine that basically acts separate from it or independent. Not entirely independent, so just basically another flying machine, maybe here in front, that is just getting pushed forward with the same timings. So this machine flies this way, activates the whole contraption, and it's getting pushed forward by one block. Then we could just add more pushing extensions here in the back to push the other flying machine as a bit in front forward as well. It would always be in the same timing. So I'll try to adjust that, and then we can also see it in action. Alright, so I added this really simplistic flying machine here in the front. The player can just stand on the honey block. That's it. The flying machine is also stopped here by an extended piston. And what I added to this flying machine here is basically an extra piston that pushes everything forward. So we need to push, obviously, the main flying machine forward, and then also this section here that stops the flying machine. So we just basically first push the redstone block one forward, and then here's another sticky piston that pulls the normal piston behind that gets retracted. Okay, that's about it. I just need a station on the other side as well. So let's try it out to see if I got it right. We launch everything, but also hopefully will stay on the honey. Okay, here water is generated. Check the other side. Yep. All looking good still. Okay, let's do a small tick rate increase. So we have a couple of water sources, so we can see what we are dealing here with. Okay, so the next step would be now to push this water down. So in order to push it down, obviously we need to freeze it. So we need some Frostwalker armor stand and a piston to push it down. Alright, so 3-directional Frostwalker armor stand. We need to make sure that he is not shot out to any side if you push him. So if I would, for example, push the Frostwalker armor stand this way, then he gets shot out, and always needs to be at least some sort of block here on the side to prevent that. This doesn't need to be a full block, could also be a trapdoor, but yeah, any block needs to be present there. And also if you push it in this direction. Also the position of the armor stand gets slightly changed if you push it this way. Okay, next thing I want to see is how far a Frostwalker armor stand would freeze the water. So let's set some water here. So it's important that this is a slime block, by the way. The armor stand gets some extra momentum. Oh, yeah. A single block over here gets frozen. Seems like it's pretty much perfect. Okay. So what we would want then is a piston over here that gets pushed just a moment after the Frostwalker armor stand. So we would push this one first. And then we push over the piston. And it pushes down the single Frostwalker ice. Like that. Now the water source is one block lower. Okay, then we have an additional problem with the water source regenerating. So it might be best if I actually show this with some normal glass blocks. This is supposed to be a water source. So if you have water sources like that, and you push one on the corner down, then we have a water source one lower. And the water source regenerating mechanics would actually allow it to form a new water source here. Because there's another water source below. So that's why it's gonna be a problem if you have like a single piston that pushes down. Like pushes this one down. Then the new source could regenerate. Over here. So, but if you push the next one down, then a second piston could push out the water source that regenerates in this space. So we basically always need like 2 pistons to punch out a water source again. This way, we can make sure all the water is pushed down and doesn't regenerate again. Okay, so a flying machine would need like a second piston here. But it's kind of a problem, so yeah. if we want to push this whole system forward and attach it to this module somehow. Yeah, this might not be easy. We could maybe try the approach again with the second flying machine. So one idea would be, yeah, let's say we have infinite push limit. We could also push those pistons around, maybe yeah, like this. See, to power it somehow. So a module like that would work. But yeah, it's probably best if we actually split up the flying machines again. Make this a separate one. And also just push it forward. We also have to make sure that like this flying machine with the 2 pistons flies 1 block further. So this one is always the first one. So if you go the other way, this piston would be second. Yeah, this is all. It all seems like it's doable. We just need to build this up somehow. Okay, it's working pretty well. Okay, here you can see the Frostwalker armor stand going over the water. Frosted ice is pushed down immediately, and of course it melts because there's no frosted ice near it. As you can see, the 2 pistons here, they also pushed 1 block further. So going back the other direction, basically at the same height again as the Frostwalker armor stand. Okay, stops here, goes a bit further, and then going this way. Timing is also made in a way, this machine is always trailing behind. Just this little moment, so the ice forms and it's immediately pushed down. Okay, so this machine here, basically if this is Y0, the water is generated at Y2. That's why we need to basically push down the water twice. So we would need another of those flying machines. And then we would need one final Frostwalker flying machine that freezes all of the water again. So last step would be basically just this module here and not the pusher module. So this is what the last machine would look like. The only job here is to freeze the ice. So obviously since we're in the end dimension it would never melt unless you place a light source right next to it. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Obviously on the side we get some flowing water, but that's gonna be gone as soon as all of the water is frozen. Just a matter of time. And then, yeah, it's gone. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so we could also basically chain all of those machines together, or we build them independently. Not quite sure what's the best idea. So with chaining together, I mean, the station here at the side that pushes everything one forward could be synchronized. But I would have gone for the approach just to build independent machines, and like the machines in the back, maybe they take just a slight bit longer than the machines in the front so they wouldn't catch up. I think that's also a way to deal with it. And the disadvantage would be if we don't chain it up, in case we ever want to stop this, we would need to do it independently. So each machine would need to be stopped independently. So here, for example, with the 2 flying machines we have in the back, so for the bot account and the main flying machine here, we can always just stop the main flying machine shortly before it arrives here. While the other one docks, basically, and then you launch this one again, and as soon as it arrives at the station, then both of them will be launched again. So this would be one downside of having this separately, but I think it's easier. I also designed this way already. It's all independent. Okay, then I'll try to actually build it up entirely in the end dimension at the correct height for once. Just need to paste it in a couple times, just to test it out if everything works as I'm planning it. Actually, now that I think about it, there would be another advantage of chaining everything together. It would be that we only need a single chunk loader, not several for each flying machine. That makes me think we should actually do this. It would take some time to redesign, but I think it would be worth it. Alright, I got it all chained up and built up at Y0. So the whole machinery is now controlled by this flying machine in the back. You can also, spawn in a bot for the chunk loading, this honey blocks here. Okay, there's nothing else to do but to try this out finally. Okay, here we go. Alright. So water's generated in the back, and it will take some time until we pushed everything down and froze it. That's why we can do the tick rate command. Speed this up. So far so good. Okay, soon we'll see. Build it all at the right height. Okay, it actually goes a bit fast. Slow this down a bit. Okay, water is frozen and it's getting pushed down. Perfect. Speed it up again. There we go. Oh, stuff is frozen again. No! Oh, I see. It's that issue that you can't push down into Y0, right? What? Why does it not work? Maybe a timing issue? It's gotta be a timing issue. So apparently it's not a timing issue. For some reason, those pistons can't push down. Is this because they can't punch out the water below? It's gotta be that. Oh, that's gonna make things more complicated if we really wanted that. So let's test it maybe over here real quick. Oops. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So that's the lowest block in the world. Then let's set block frosted ice. So we can push it down if there's nothing below, right? And if there's something below that... Oh. Yep. So we would need to somehow remove the water below, have an air block, then we could push it down. Oh my god. What about having the water at Y1? Would be just as good almost, right? But it could probably also come up with a system to deal with this. If you wanted to solve this issue, one approach is probably to have another flying machine flying very low. Basically, another piston that pushes forward under the ice block. So quickly power that piston, punch out the water under the ice block is generated, and then the next step we could actually push down. Oh boy. This would be rather complicated to achieve. Also, if you would have like a solid frozen or frosted ice platform like this, you could obviously push it down step by step. The ice wouldn't melt immediately, but as soon as you push it down, it would melt and then flow to the side as far as I know. But does it? Does it happen at Y0? This would be another approach. Let's try it over here. Okay, let's see what happens. So I push the first one down. It melts. And because it's at Y0, it doesn't spread, right? So you could push the next one down. Melts and doesn't spread. This would be another strategy. It's actually deciding the other machine with another goal in mind, so we could also use it in the overworld. But the frosted ice sometimes melts because there's the skylight level. So I wanted to only freeze one ice and push it down immediately. But if you could like freeze the whole platform, wait a bit until all the water has dissipated, and then push down, this would be probably also a good idea. With water disappearing, I mean, yeah, the water flows over here. So we basically would need to remove this pushing system and just move it to the back. I guess it would work. Let's do that. Okay, let's see if this works now. Spent a good amount of time rebuilding everything. It's looking good so far. Oh, what happened there? Oh, we had a single frosted ice, of course, at the end. Ah, okay. Hopefully that's not an issue. Oh. I should have done more testing. Oh, of course, if you push down another frosted ice, it updates the other water down there. then it does flow to the side. Okay, that's very sad. Spent so much time on this. Oh god, no. So we have to work on the other solution again. We have an extra flying machine that makes sure there is no water below by punching it out. I was hoping I could actually finish this today. So it's been one of those days again. I think I'm just gonna quickly design the flying machine in Creative in 2 hours or so, just putting puzzle pieces together, and later we can build it in Survival. But I was busy until 2 AM to figure out how to get it to work. So it's the next day, the machine is working now. Here's how I solved the issue with the frosted ice not being pushable from Y1 to Y0. We got an extra piston now here. It punches out the flowing water. So the frosted ice can be pushed down from here to here, because just moments before we punch out the flowing water and then it's possible we got an air block below. But obviously after I got this to work, I ran into the next issue. So we had this issue with the water sources regenerating. That's why we got this double piston setup. So the next one always punches out the water source. But somehow once this flying machine got involved, somehow this failed, that our double piston setup failed, and we got water sources remaining behind, which then the Frostwalk almost was freezing again and basically crashed into it later. So after a lot of redesigning and coming up with ideas, I actually ended up with this very simple solution that works with the push limit as well. So we just have a normal block here that punches out the water source, and this other piston is for going the other direction. So if we go from right to left, this one punches down the frosted ice, and going the other direction, this one does it. So this flying machine has to fly always a little bit further, so it's getting realigned with this piston and the armor stand here. Also here we got basically a separate flying machine. It also needs to be pushed down forward somehow, and it's flying basically below the Y1 water, so it's completely flat, so it doesn't accidentally remove water. Okay, that's about it. Let's actually try it out. So what actually takes so long when designing such a flying machine is, well, you have an idea, then you have to rebuild usually quite a lot. Like all the stations need to be moved over one block, so this machine can fly one block further, etc. Then you test it and it doesn't work. Okay, then you try the next thing, 20 minutes of rebuilding, and it doesn't work. And then you're stuck for an hour, don't know how to solve the issue. You try some weird update order things that might work, but doesn't. And yeah, that's how you get stuck on those projects sometimes. It just takes you a couple hours to finally get something to work. Try everything out, all the ideas I have, and yeah, eventually, usually you come up with something. Okay, let's do a quick tick rate, 500. So we can see the interesting part, which is basically this one here, pushing down the Y1 water to Y0. Okay, so front, everything works as expected. Just wait a little bit. And I think here it's gonna happen. Alright, yep. So as you can see, this piston punches out the flowing water for a moment. Gives the other piston opportunity to punch down the frosted ice. Okay, no way back. This piston will do it now. And there we go. Timing is just right, so this works. Okay, then all that's left to do is freeze the Y0 water again. So I got the armor stand in the back still. And there we go. We got our first frosted ice at Y0. Perfect. So obviously in Survival we would build the stations 2400 blocks apart to cover a really large area. This would also take a very long time to fill the complete void around the main end island. So such a flying machine covers 2 blocks per second. But since we're dealing with a 2400 by 2400 area, we need to cover over 5 million blocks. So this is, if you can fly 2 blocks per second, over 2.5 million seconds, which is basically a whole month this machine would take to cover the whole area. But we can stop it at any moment. Not really at any moment, every 20 minutes or so. every 12 minutes. So we can stop this flying machine here just before it arrives at the station. And then everything is alright. So we can always stop it here. Those can just dock at the station already. All the timing is actually controlled by pushing it forward. And then we can launch it again. We have it here. And it will still be working. So also the chunk loading account will be placed on this Honey. Loads all the other flying machines as well to travel at the same speed. Okay, there's actually one more thing I should have tested in the very beginning. But yeah, quite certain it shouldn't be an issue. So frosted ice blocks themselves also cause a little bit of lag. At least those chunk loading issues we would have had in 1.12 are gone. So the issue was that basically frosted ice checks the neighboring block and in 1.12 could load the next chunk. So if you had a huge frosted ice platform, it would basically load itself and cause a lot of lag. So this is at least no longer an issue, but I'm quite sure the frosted ice itself would also cause a little bit of lag. 1.12 it was a radar distance area filled with one layer of frosted ice, about 2 MSPT on my machine, so not really an issue, but yeah, better safe than sorry. We should maybe test this out also in 1.16. Let's go to a different flat world and fill a large area frosted ice and see how much lag it would add. So time for a quick test. Baseline milliseconds per tick is 1.7. Let's see what happens if we add 250,000 frosted ice blocks. First of all, it takes some time until you actually get them. There we go. Alright. MSPT is at 2.5, 2.6 now. So it adds a little bit of lag, but it's almost negligible. So I think this is very okay. Actually less than 1 MSPT, or about 1 MSPT for 250,000 frosted ice blocks. Okay, that's definitely something I'm okay with. Alright, so we built up the Void Beater in a live stream, and we were already removing the bottom of the obsidian pillars as well at the main end island. It's gonna take another 2.5 weeks probably until we actually reach that point, but here you can already see what kind of progress we made in about 30 hours of running this machine. It's not too much, so the frosted ice is maybe 25 blocks wide. Can already use the boat on it, but yeah, it's definitely gonna take some time until the whole area is covered. But it's making good progress, it's working fine. So we get a single account there loading the whole machinery, and yeah, it's working great. Let's maybe go in the FreeCam real quick to get an overview here. older machines definitely looks a bit different to larger scale than in the creative world. Okay, yeah, I really like this. Looks really clean. Yeah, pretty good. Alright, so we'll definitely check the progress on that every couple episodes, I would say. So in total, this has to run for about 5 weeks until we can say we're finished here. And we're back at the perimeter site, where we can use the same type of flying machines to also finish our project of filling the gaps between the bedrock with water sources, which in combination with the Frostwalker boots is super useful, so we can just walk over the water here. And this is also helpful. Currently we're placing a layer of blocks above the bedrock. It's gonna be part of the whole perimeter decoration. I'll explain more about that later, but let's first actually check out the machines we're using here. Just gonna take off the Frostwalker boots to not accidentally make frosted ice, where I shouldn't. So in total we got 8 separate flying machines that basically continue the job. So if you fly to the very beginning, we get the first flying machine that creates the water source. It had to be built up a bit higher. Where is it? Because I was afraid some of the observers would get updated at the wrong moment. So here we got those observers face up. And I was afraid if you build this flying machine that creates the water source too low, then flowing water above the bedrock could update the observers at the wrong moment. So that's why this was built up a bit higher in order to avoid those issues. Basically the same flying machine we used to flood the cat farm perimeter. Then obviously the water's way too high, we have to push it down. So we do it in steps. We got 3 more flying machines that are built up pretty much the same day. And here you can see the decline in water level to push the water down. Then I took a break of about 1 day and added 2 more flying machines to push the water down. So this is the next one. But here for some reason I still don't entirely get why the removal of the water source, the piston didn't work. Probably because some water was flowing on the bedrock. Not entirely sure, maybe we also did something wrong. Anyway, so we got remaining water sources. So that's why we got the next flying machine here. This one removes the water source finally. So we got this glass block that just flies from left to right and then the other direction. This punches out the water source. There's no chance it would regenerate somehow. Unlike with the pistons, it always retract again. And then there's a chance for the water to regenerate in that time. And final step is push down the water once more, wherever possible. So this is the last water pushing machine. In some cases, obviously, you can't push down because there's bedrock in the way. So it's kind of clear why there's water remaining behind. There we go. And that's why we got another flying machine to remove the final water source over here. And then we got the really nice result of water between the bedrock. So super nice. This machinery, so the whole armada of 8 flying machines, took me about 3 hours or so to build up, bring all materials and so on. Definitely less effort than building the one directional flying machine the whole distance. Obviously it would have been better if we wouldn't have bothered with the one directional machine at all. But at the time I thought it might be a good idea because it's obviously faster than the 3-directional approach. So this will take in total about 2 days to run and fill up the other half of the perimeter. I guess mistakes were made. Should have gone with the 3-directional approach immediately, but it's a bit more complicated usually, so that's why I was trying to play it safe and I was deciding on the one-directional machine at first. But now I'm happy that we also got this system to work. Okay, actually soon I have to worry about removing the machines again. The first machine is about to crash into the wall, and then I have to basically remove it immediately, because otherwise the next flying machine would then crash into the first flying machine and stop a bit earlier and so on. So we would get a chain reaction and the work wouldn't get done until the very end. So in about 2 hours or so, I have to worry about removing those machines immediately. Okay, this was a bit of a longer episode today. We spent a lot of time on this one. Hope you liked it. Thanks guys for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.